Guys, if I have to try and film this video one more time, I think it's just not meant to be. I feel like, okay, let's just do this. Hey y'all, welcome back to my channel. It's your girl. Today I'm doing a sit down video for you guys. I'm going to be talking about my first trimester, kind of just like how I found out we are pregnant, things like that. Let me know if you guys like this kind of video. I definitely want to put out more pregnancy content, so please let me know what you guys want to see in the comments below. But let's just get started, because I feel like I've like done this video so many times I don't even remember like what I've said and what I haven't said, like in the middle of me filming it, you know what I mean? Like, anyways guys, I am going to talk a little bit about my previous pregnancy, because I feel like it has to do with, you know, the current one. So let's just get right into it, okay? Because oh my god, y'all. That's not a nice piece. Thank you. Come here. Okay, so when this little one was born, he was exclusively breastfed, right? And it was my goal to exclusively breastfeed, so I was really blessed and happy that I was able to do that for him and, you know, be able to produce that milk for him. And you know, like when you have a baby or whatever, they ask you like, what's your plans for birth control or whatever? And I was like, I don't have any plans to do birth control. I was on the Nexplanon for 5 years and I will never do birth control ever again in my life, okay? But you know, I did tell them that I was breastfeeding or whatever, and they do say like breastfeeding is a form of birth control. Like it can kind of, you know, stop you from having a baby, because it, you know, your body stops producing like estrogen or something like that. Like I don't really know the science behind it too much, but basically I breastfed my son up until I found out I was pregnant with this baby. So I actually did not get my first period until I was 15 months postpartum, which is 15 months into me breastfeeding him. And I remember when he turned 1 year old, me and my man started talking more about wanting to have another kid, because, you know, we wanted him to have someone to grow up with and be close with. And both me and my man have siblings, you know, so we both know how important it is to have like a sibling, and how being an only child just seems really lonely, and we didn't want that for our children, you know what I mean? So obviously, like, me not getting my period means I can't get pregnant. So it was something that I brought up to my to the midwife when I went to the women's clinic. I went there for something completely unrelated, but I did bring this up to them, and they basically told me like that I might just be one of those women that can't get pregnant and can't conceive until I have completely weaned him off and my supply dries up. Now, when I heard that information, it was so disheartening, because I was just so excited and so ready to have another baby, you know what I mean? Like, it just felt so impossible in that moment to wean him off and, you know, try and have a baby. Like, obviously, like, it would happen, but it just felt so far away when I heard that information, you know what I mean? So it was really discouraging. I actually cried on my way home. I had to call my man and, like, you know, vent to him, and he had to comfort me and things like that. But I actually got my period a week later, guys. I got my first period, my first postpartum period at 15 months postpartum, like I said, and it was April 20th. So 4/20, guys, I got my period. And I tracked it in my period tracker app. Now, my period tracker app is always accurate. If it says I'm getting my period in 12 days, I'm getting my period in 12 days. And I always get it the morning of. I can't remember the last time that I've, you know, never got my period like in the morning, you know what I mean? Like I always like wake up the morning I'm supposed to start my period, and then I go to the bathroom, and that's when my period starts, like every single time. Like it's kind of actually a blessing, because I don't ever like just bleed in the middle of the day or like bleed in my bed or anything like that. So I tracked my period in the period tracker app, and it obviously tells you like your ovulation window once you start tracking your period again. And we actually didn't do anything in my ovulation window. I logged when we did it, and it was a couple days after my ovulation window, which obviously you still have a chance of getting pregnant, but it's like low, obviously. So I didn't think anything of it, but I just had like this deep feeling. Like, I can't really explain it. Like, I'm sure other mothers, you know what I mean, but I just had this deep feeling that I was pregnant. So I waited until, you know, my app said, you know, you're gonna get your period on this day. And when I didn't get my period that morning, I was like, okay, let's go buy a test, because like obviously I'm pregnant. Like obviously, like I didn't get my period. You know what I mean? Like I was that confident in the app, even though it was gonna be my second period after 15 months of not having one. And see, I filmed this video so many times, I feel like I've left stuff out in this specific filming, but hopefully not. Anyways, so we got the pregnancy test or whatever, and my man wanted to have that experience of finding out first. So he actually looked at the test first by himself, and I was just in the living room and he was in the bathroom. So when I show you guys his reaction, it's very like you can tell he's trying to be quiet because obviously I was just in the room next door. But when you record a video on an iPhone, there's a pause button, so you can pause the recording and come back and unpause it. So I didn't know he paused it, right? I thought he just kept it running. I didn't even know he knew that you could pause it, you know what I mean? So when I went to the bathroom to check pregnancy test, I didn't unpause it because I didn't know that it was paused. So my reaction was not caught of the pregnancy test, or me finding out the positive pregnancy test. But basically I was jumping up and down. I was like, I knew it. I cried so much because I was so excited, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I also wasn't expecting it to happen so fast, you know? Like, I had only had one period, you know what I mean? So I wasn't expecting it to happen that soon after my first period, you know? Okay, it's May, oh gosh, okay. It's May 18th, 2025. I am taking the pregnancy test. Yeah, I'm using this clear blue 6 days sooner early digital pregnancy test. It even has like this light situation that's supposed to like light up when it tells you it's collected enough pee. I'm really 50-50 on what the results can be. I've been nervous about this all day. I'm still nervous. I'm really scared, actually. I'm probably going to cry if it says negative. I'm definitely going to cry if it says negative. And I'm going to cry if it says positive. I'm really scared. I have my pee in this cup, so I'm not going to show you, but no, Fenty. I'm really nervous. Anyways.
Here we go. Second baby. It's gonna be fun.
Oh my god, so the video didn't even catch, so I'm really freaking upset about that, but we're pregnant. I literally freaking cried. I really wish that that was on video.
I'm really sorry.
It's okay. But I will show you guys whatever clips we did get from that moment of finding out. But yeah, so basically that's around the same time that I found out I was pregnant with him. You know, like on the day of my missed period for both babies, I found out on that day. So obviously that's like what, 4 weeks pregnant. So, you know, obviously we call the doctor or whatever, we tell them we're pregnant, and I didn't have my first appointment until I think I was like 7 or 8 weeks pregnant when I had my first appointment. I think I did get like an ultrasound at 7 weeks just to confirm pregnancy, you know what I mean? But I didn't have my actual OB appointment until 8 weeks pregnant. So to kind of go into what I dealt with in the first trimester, let me move this camera a little bit. It was very similar to my pregnancy with my son, which really made me think that it was a boy. But in the very beginning, I thought it was a girl just because I had nausea. But I later realized that I feel like the nausea was just due to the prenatals that I was taking. I was taking the ritual prenatals. Everyone talks about the ritual prenatals. And I just don't know if I like them that much because you have to take 2 of them. And the bottle is not that big. Like, you know, it only lasts a month. So you're spending, what, like $40 a month on your prenatals versus the ones I took with my son. It comes in a bottle of like 60. So it's 2 months and they're like 20 bucks. You know, so, and you only have to take 1 a day because they're like a lot bigger. But I don't know, I just was so nauseous every single morning that I would take my prenatals. And in the beginning, I really thought it was a girl because I was nauseous, you know what I'm saying? Like, I did not have that with my son at all. But at around 8 weeks is when I stopped taking the ritual one, so that's when the nausea stopped. So then I was just like, oh, you know, like, it's probably a boy. Like, after that point, I was like, it's a boy. Even though I was deeply hoping for a girl, I was like, it's a boy. And when we got the results, okay, so we were gonna do a gender reveal, but when those results came in on my chart, I was like, I'm opening this right now, because I just really wanted to know if it was a girl or not. And I don't want to say I was disappointed that it wasn't a girl. I was definitely sad, and it did take me like a day or two to kind of get over that sadness. Obviously I'm gonna love my child. I don't want you guys to think that I'm not gonna love my child. Like, I'm gonna love him, like, you know what I mean? Like, no, there's no doubt in my mind that I'm not that I'm gonna love my child, you know. But because my son was a C-section baby, I'm probably gonna have a C-section with this baby. That just kind of limits your number of pregnancies. So it was more just the thought of maybe not being able to have a girl that really saddened me. So not so much this one specifically not being a girl, it's just the fact that, you know, my chances of having a girl are now less, if that makes sense, because of the C-sections. Now with the C-sections, even after I had him, like even before we were pregnant, like the thought of, or the decision between VBAC and C-section always weighed heavy on my mind, because, you know, obviously everybody wants to have that, maybe not everybody, but I feel like maybe everybody, you know, want to have that experience of having a natural vaginal birth, you know what I'm saying? And when I couldn't have that, it deeply saddened me. I actually, still to this day, kind of, I don't want to say like I'm disappointed in myself. Disappointed is not the right word. It's just like, I just wish things would have happened differently. My mother and my grandmother both had C-sections. We're pretty small people. I'm only 5'3", so I'm not even 5'1", you know, so I'm a small person. But my son was only 7 pounds 2 ounces, which is fairly small. So the fact that I wasn't able to push him out, you know, but at the same time, like, I blame the epidural, you know what I'm saying? Because they always say, like, when your legs are spread apart, it closes your cervix rather than opens it, or not cervix, your pelvis, rather than opens it, which is why they want, like, being on your back is the worst position to give birth in, but it's the easiest for, obviously, like, the doctors, because you're spread eagle for them, you know? But I also blame the epidural because I wasn't able to move positions to, like, move my baby to be able to push him out. So I'll kind of, I guess I'll talk about that a little bit too with my son. I did push with him. I pushed for 4 hours, and I actually was able to get him down my canal within like 10 minutes, you know, and I actually got him to crown, and within that 10 minutes, you know, I felt his head and everything, you know, they pulled my hand down there and I felt him and everything, but he was literally stuck in that crowning position for 4 hours. Wasn't moving, with no progression. He was just stuck there. So after about 4 hours of pushing, there was a doctor that came in, and my man was right there. He was holding my leg, so he saw everything. This doctor apparently put her hand inside of me. Obviously, I didn't feel that I had the epidural, but she felt my pelvis, like my pelvic walls, and basically she said my pelvis is too small, and that, you know, my baby's shoulders weren't able to come through my pelvis. And again, my legs were spread eagle, so that could have been why. But at the same time, even at my last OB appointment, when I was talking to my midwife about it, this was actually the midwife. At every appointment, there's a different midwife. I don't have like a set midwife at every OB appointment, so every time it's a different at every OB appointment it's a different midwife. But at my last one specifically, the midwife that I got was actually one of the midwives at my birth. So she, you know, was there firsthand. She, you know, saw everything happen, and she actually looked into my chart and you know, looked at the doctor's notes from my birth, and basically the doctor said that I have straight sidewalls. I'm not a doctor, so I don't really know what that means, but basically when she looked at my chart, she was like, you know, based off of, you know, what the doctor put in your chart, you know, obviously, like, you can try for a VBAC, you know, there's no harm in trying, but if I were to try to do a VBAC, probably no epidural would be the smartest choice. But then also that raises risks because, like, obviously, like, my uterus has been cut open, so if I don't already have that IV through my back, if God forbid something were to happen, you know what I mean? Like, they wouldn't be able to quickly administer medication to me to get me quickly, not sedated, but, you know, numb to do the C-section, you know what I'm saying? So, I don't know. I'm still like, in my head, I feel like I'm still debating between the two, but at the same time, I'm so heavily leaning towards having a repeat C-section that that's most likely what I'm going to do, simply because an emergency C-section sounds so scary for me. I did not have an emergency C-section with my son. Even though I was pushing for 4 hours and he was in my canal that long, his heart rate stayed perfectly fine the whole entire time. So when they brought me into C-section, it was not emergency. So it was still calm environment, you know, and when emergencies arise, you know, they got to act quick. You know what I'm saying? And with quickness comes possible mistakes. And I do not want the possibility of any mistakes being happen because they're moving fast, because, you know, my life is on the line or something like that. You know what I mean? So I just don't know if I'm willing to put myself in that much stress just to have that experience of a vaginal birth. You know what I mean? As much as I would want to experience that, obviously, because, you know, that's what I originally wanted. Yes, baby. Yeah. I just don't know if it's worth it. And I think maybe scheduling a C-section just so that it's a calm, you know, like we go in and everybody's ready, you know, it's a scheduled timing, you know, and yeah. I don't know. Let me know, you know, your guys' thoughts and opinions on it. But yeah, like I said, I think I'm heavily leaning towards having another C-section, which I think it's just going to be the easiest for us too, because you can schedule it so I can find someone to watch this little one when I'm, you know, delivering his little brother. But that's kind of the plan there for the pregnancy. And hey, this is my video. This is my video. No, he said no. But yeah, guys, that's kind of just I don't know. It's still something that I'm weighing in my head, and obviously, like, you know, the OBs and the midwives, you know, they always say that you can change your mind at any time, even in the moment. If I decide to have a VBAC, like in that very moment, I can decide to have a C-section or whatever. But yeah, I'm just so scared to have another C-section, y'all. Like, that recovery is insane. Like, if you guys have never had a C-section before, like, that recovery is insane. Like, people who talk shit on C-section moms, honestly, you need to do better. You need to do better, because people don't just have C-sections to have the easy way out. You know what I mean? Like, I hate when people say that, because it's not easier. It's actually harder, I feel like, because with a vaginal birth, you know, you heal easier, I feel like. I obviously don't know, but I just feel like it would be easier. Like, that C-section recovery was absolutely insane. It's probably the most painful thing I've ever freaking endured. Like, even more than the contractions. When I had him, I went to the hospital at 5 centimeters. So I didn't get the epidural until probably 6 centimeters. So you know, the recovery was worse than that. That's how bad my recovery was. And I was popping pills like candy, you know what I mean, to get rid of that pain. That's like some of the most intense pain I've ever experienced. Yeah, but you know, I've heard a lot of people say that the second time around is easier, but I feel like that's not true. Like, how can that be true? You know what I'm saying? But I don't know, do they cut the same scar open again, or do they create a new scar, like a new cut? I'm sorry, y'all, was that on my tooth the whole time? A little chili flake? Oh my gosh, I like got so into the C-section and like stuff like that. I didn't even really talk about my first trimester. Y'all, the first trimester was great. I mean, there's nothing really to speak on it, actually. Just that little bit of nausea in the beginning. And I'm also going to show you guys my belly. Sorry, I will show you the belly. But other than that, nothing. I probably threw up maybe twice during the first trimester. I'm a lot bigger this time around. I'm 17 weeks, like I said, I think in 2 days. And I look like how I looked when I was 22 weeks pregnant with him. So I'm very big. I feel like I actually just watched a TikTok of this girl, and it was probably her first baby, but even with him I was pretty big, but she was 20 weeks pregnant, and she literally looked like me when I was like 12 weeks pregnant. Like I started showing so fast, but I'm like extra large and in charge right now, y'all. So let me show y'all the belly. Sorry guys, I got a little bit of mac and cheese on my belly here because I just fed him, but this is the belly, y'all. 17 weeks and 2 days. This is the belly. Now, what I think is happening, because it's the same thing with him, he was all belly. And I think it's going to be the same thing with this baby. Like with my mom's pregnancy with me, I was in her back. So she had like a small belly, even though I was a small baby, but I was like in her back. This boy was all here. So I did have severe back pain. Yo, I scared myself real quick. Do you see the reflection moving right there? So I think it's gonna be the same thing with this baby. With my son, my pre-pregnancy weight was 154 pounds, and they weigh you, or actually I don't know about any other hospitals, but when I had him, they actually weighed me as I was in the middle of a contraction, like when I came in when I was in labor, and they weighed me and I was 182 pounds. So I gained what, like 28 pounds in my pregnancy. And 182 pounds on a 5-foot woman, I was a beluga whale for real. But I mean, it is what it is, you know what I'm saying? It's probably gonna be the same thing this time around. But second trimester has been going good so far. I will do an update on that one as well once I hit the third trimester, guys. Let me know if you want like weekly updates. I don't know if I'm gonna do that or not yet, but if you guys follow me on Instagram, I do weekly like little video updates on my belly bump. So if you guys want to go follow me on Instagram, definitely do that. All my links are in the description box below. But yeah, guys, that's basically everything. I definitely gonna be posting more on TikTok about my pregnancy too, so make sure you guys go follow me on TikTok. I do have a multiple account, so if you guys want to support your girl, that's kind of like my job right now, is I do TikTok shop. So if you guys want to support me, because I'm a stay-at-home mom, make sure you guys go follow me. And if you guys need to buy anything, buy it off of my showcase so I get the commission, you know what I'm saying? But anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Let me know how you guys felt about this video in the comments below. And I'm so glad that I was able to film this video, because I'm telling you, this is like the 20th time that I've tried to film this video. So I'm gonna go put this little nugget to sleep because it is his bedtime. Actually past his bedtime. But all my links are in the description box below. And I hope you guys subscribe and hit the bell and all that good stuff. And I'll see you guys in the next video.